Hey, come in. Welcome to my little home away from home. So this is where I spend, from 8 in the morning till sometimes 10 in the evening. So let me just show you, the space. So the door's just there, so obviously you just come through there. I have a little kitchen area. So the first thing I do when I come in is I make a fresh pot of ginger and lemon tea, which I drink all day. When packages come in, they either live here or I sit here and I open them. So this is a package which recently came in. So I have, as you can see, I have yet to unpack it. The pigments are here. So the rough pigments are here. Because the big granite mortar and pestle are here. And once I've ground pigments in that, I then move them to a finer glass one, or I use a muller, which is a flat top. And I have a piece of glass up there. And that piece of glass has a sandblasted base. So obviously there's some great pigments there, half of which are highly toxic. So you have some cinnabar there, which makes vermilion, which is mercury sulfide, and we have some orpiment, which is a sulfide of arsenic. And then my gilding materials are here. So we have lots of different kinds of gilding materials, and obviously, the joy of stick ink. Yay! And some Japanese sticks in different colors, and they all have little silica gel sort of containers in them to absorb any moisture. These are some Indian pigments that I got from India. I still use shells. So when I grind pigments, so this, I don't know if you can see, this has white in it. So when I'm mixing up pigment, I tend to mix it in the shells because all you need to do is go and eat some oysters. And the great thing about the shells is, pigments were sold in shells historically because the mother of pearl in the shell is so white and so clean and so clear that it really helps you to see what that pigment is. And it's also, I just sort of like, I really enjoy it. Right, I'm sort of working. I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. So everything's on wheels. So in here is my Rhodia Clairefontaine shelf with tons of Rhodia products. Under there is my Spellbinders Shelf. So I designed some products for Spellbinders, and I have one of my machines there. And maybe we'll go through the books first. So these books are books on different parts of the world and different types of decoration and art in different parts of the world. Here are books on different periods. So we have sort of Baroque period, Gothic period, Art Nouveau period. Different types of arts and crafts. So we have ornamentation, stained glass. Here we have books on different artists. So this is my little Jura section, and Giotto, and illustrators from the Renaissance period, and then we go into places, like Da Vinci and Toulouse-Lautrec and Arthur Rackham, who's one of my favorite illustrators. And books on the universe, and some books on music, because I sing. Well, I used to sing. And then books on arts and crafts like restoration and ornamentation. Books on paper crafts. Books on hand lettering and handwriting rather than hand lettering. Books on fonts. Books on cartography. And I have tons of catalogs from Christie's and Sotheby's on things like manuscripts, old master drawings, and watercolor paintings, oil paintings. So it's such an amazing resource there. This section is a section on the Near East because of my Assyrian and Babylonian studies. So this looks at Assyria, Babylon, Sumeria, and then you come into sort of the studio proper. So this is where I teach my classes. This is my table where I do a lot of my work. And so just going back to the Babylon section. So this is an archaeological section here. So this is all on Egypt. And I sometimes sit here, it's sort of loaded up with tools that have just come in. So just looking through those tools and working out what they can do. And then we have this section, which is books on, these are facsimiles of illuminated manuscript. And all of this is Egypt as well. And then this is Tibetan art here. And then these massive books. So I love these because they're so big. You know, the plant chest is a really great surface to looking at these larger books on. So we have Tibet and Tibetan art, Arabic and Persian art in Byzantium, and books by Dover, which I love Dover Publishing. And then more catalogues at the top. That shelf is books on calligraphy by calligraphers. The left side of the shelf is botanical illustration, wildlife illustration, historical information on painting. There's some books by Cimini and Speed and really sort of historical books on colour. Then we have a really nice sort of section on heraldry. And obviously Tom Kemp's book is easy to reach. And this section is books on books. So we have books on books and books on the history of writing. So we have, how we have the story of writing and the origins of writing. This is a really great book, Reading the Past, but we also have books like Michelle Brown's book on Western historical scripts from antiquity to 1600, and books on paleography. So this is sort of the paleographical section. And then I divide the section by sort of journals from the Association of Paleography, and that separates the Cancelleresca and Humanist period. So we have books on things like Italian writing masters and Cancelleresca. And we have books from other artists here because they're a little bit big and I want to be able to reach them. Books on copperplate and Spencerian, so I have those together. And of course, all of this whole section, these are books on illuminated manuscripts. I mean, it's one thing to have books on calligraphy, but when you really want to look at calligraphy, you don't look at an exemplar from somebody else. You look at an historical manuscript. Those are most of the books, because there are books over there as well. And so these are books that I'm currently working with on specific topics. So these move around. I told you everything's on wheels. So these move around, and they move out of here when I'm teaching, so I have access to the board. This is my shelf, which holds pens which are not calligraphing pens. So we have things like these Uniball senior pens, felt tip pens, and Sleechies, which I love. And then so I sit here to have holders to hold the pens as I'm working with them. And just move around here. This table moves up, so I can either drop it, or move it up, or I can tilt it, which is amazing. Here are my rulers. So these are T-squares that I can use, if I need to sort of rule something up really quickly. Set squares are here, protractors, and then bigger rulers, and then I'm testing some nibs here, and then paper. If I need paper really quickly, I just grab from here. Pencils are here, so like mechanical pencils and obviously other pens. Arkansas stones and sharpeners. Cutting blades are here, stippling things. Really good brushes to do painting with, and of course with lots of inspiration. So I have a really beautiful piece of French illuminated manuscript page right here, which is great whenever I sort of get a little bit depressed. I grab my manuscript page and just have a good long look at it. Pointed nibs in black and color. Automatic. Historical tools are there, like really old automatic pens, really cool things like, let's say, 18th century. Here are my broad edge nibs, black. Here are my broad edge nibs of color. More little racks all over the place. Here are sort of odd nibs like speedball nibs and that ball tips and A nibs and just bigger nibs other than sort of Mitchell nibs. And then these are some non-Western tools, drawers of nibs if I need stuff really quickly and I don't want to go into the office. Mixing brushes, so I have like 3 red brushes, one for dark red, middle red, and light. A whole area for brushes of metallic colors, so I don't mix my yellow with my silvers and golds together. They're individual brushes. Big brushes, because I sometimes need brushes. So these things I sort of reach fairly quickly. This is sort of the area that I spend most of my time in. More nibs and more nibs. There's so many nibs. And this is great, you know, this is... So, if I have a job on, I have these great little IKEA racks which were made for kids to play washing up. Of course, you know, as soon as IKEA realizes something's working, they stop making it. So I only have 4 of them, but I have other things in which to hold bits of wood and leather for practicing gilding, and here are some books. So I have lots of these books, and these are little journals that I sort of keep my notes and my ideas in. So if you look up at the top first, you can see that there's tons of zig markers. So I put plastic up on my blackboard so I can write on the blackboard the zig markers if I'm practicing or trying to work something out, because I have a window to do. A row of inks all the way along here. So we have like Calligrapher colors and some Pearlex colors and more Calligrapher colors, and Edelstein and some Schmincke metallics, and Pelican 4001, lots of Monteverdi inks, which I love, some Parker, Manuscript, Schaefer, Pilot, some copperplate, Brian Walker's copperplate ink, and I don't know if you know that Brian Walker passed away a couple of years ago. His copperplate ink is exceptional. Then we have some Robeson inks, and they make some great products, and some calligraphy inks from Winsor Newton, and Urban inks, some more manuscript inks, and then Kuretake inks. I have like these little boxes which have gouache in them. So this is the 2 blue boxes with some palettes. I have a pair of vernier calipers, obviously, because, you know, I obviously need to make really small measurements for some of the dies and stamps. 2 to 8 brush pens, more paper. So all of this is sort of research that I'm currently working on. And then we have, you know, Derwent pencils, and then we have brushes. Flat brushes are here, pointed brushes are here, really small brushes are here, a little bit of gilding. Quills, there are quills everywhere because I love quills. Cartridges for brush pens. What are those? Those are chestnuts. So I put, so when you get fresh chestnuts, they're great for keeping moths away from your brushes and your quills, because the moths will come and eat everything. Every 6 months I add cedar oil to them, so they keep, so it makes the studio smell really nice, but it also keeps the brushes, the moths away. More Derwent pencils, some Tora ink, some Iron Gall ink from another brand. This is my pencil section. These are my ruling pens. So these are historical ruling pens, contemporary ruling pens, historical ruling pens, bigger ruling pens, more quills, some brush pens, fountain pens, holders that hold pencils for practicing Spencerian for when I'm teaching. I mean, they're really roughly made, obviously tons of cartridges, and more holders and more holders, some reeds and rushes for when I'm practicing my Egyptian hieroglyphs, pencils, erasers. Sharpeners are down there because I need access to them really quickly. And of course, you know, I'm lucky I'm quite tall, so I can just reach up and grab this eraser here. Lay it out so that I can reach the things I need urgently, really quickly. And of course, bone folders and brushes to just sort of brush paper off. We go up to the next shelf. Gravers. So these are used for wood engraving. So this is some chisels for letter cutting in stone. Engraving tools for engraving in copper, old copper plate engraving. I haven't looked in this in ages. There's some of my practice work. There's some letters in there, and those are the engravers. Tons of little scraps of vellum. So there's vellum and parchment up there, and some reeds in different sizes, bamboo reeds drying, and Chinese and Japanese brushes, and some big flat brushes, and squeegee brushes, and more tools, some Derwent stuff, Spectrum Noir, more Kuretake stuff, Dremel stuff. There's some plates in here that are from 80 years ago that are made by some really amazing sign writers and calligraphers. And then sprays, and then we have this box here which has sandpaper. So when I get scrolls and I have to work on vellum, I grab that box down because I sometimes prepare the vellum with really fine sandpaper, or I use pumice pounce, which is pumice and cuttlefish bone together. You know, obviously most of that box is full of quills, so they're up there drying. And then some scrolls from work that I've done in the past and stuff that I practice on. And of course, You know, you saw one big scriber, so I'll take you across to that scribe in a sec. So as you can see, everything is on wheels. I have a press for when I'm doing some book binding, so this holds the paper in place. And obviously, more drawers filled with more things, more little Japanese boxes. We love those. Really lovely tools, really lovely made, really lovely craftsmanship. And then we have one of these. I mean, this is amazing. Right next to this, obviously, we have all the pens. But in these, so these are from the end of the 1800s. Each drawer has lots of stuff. So this is my Crown Office drawer. So this is what a scroll sort of looks like when I do my scrolls for the Crown Office. So this drawer is dedicated to that. More Clairefontaine stuff, burning and embossing, more Kurotaki stuff, ink made at Kurotaki. Really lovely old boxes and more Kurotaki stuff. Really fine Japanese products here. Nice boxes again. Color for using a chalkboard. And some really beautiful old boxes. And this drawer contains my scientific instruments for when I'm doing really accurate work. Love this. Oh, so cute. You know, lots of stuff, especially things like this. Old deeds. Grab some more of these out. So, you know, gloves. So, like, these are old deeds with lots of historical script on it. And they're really great for studying. So you have some bits of copper plate in here. Finer bits of lettering. This one's printed. But there are bits of copper plate script in there. Let's get some that are... And there's always some really amazing writing. So this is from 1863. The historical copper plate document. So this is from 1887. Copper plate with some fracture. Really lovely. Really, really exciting things to work on. You know, when you're studying historical scripts and you have access to original documents, it really, really excites you. You sort of want. So all these drawers have stuff in here. All so to get up there, I use a ladder. So then we have the office. This is my little office where I do all my admin stuff. This is my table that I do my Instagram posts on. You can see my setup here. And I have more tools here that, you know, when I'm working on something, I tend to leave them here. I'm just working on I'm just studying. So I have my study books there. These three trays, you see these three trays here. So they all have nibs, plus, you know, more stuff. This is more nibs. And just stuff. Grosgrain ribbon for doing sort of scrolls when I have scrolls to do and interweaving the ribbon at the bottom of the scroll. Paper from G.F. Smith, so all of this is paper, A4 paper, all of this as well. These are envelopes, and then these are, you know, sort of books of telling you what colors exist in the G.F. Smith books. My little study section is here, so I have, you know, Gothic capitals, teaching material, more Gothic capitals, and things on capitals, you know, Gothic, you know, batters, tons of stuff. Copy paper that I tend to work on. So I tend to use Concro Wove when I'm producing artwork, because it's really good interaction with the nib, scanning, good interaction with the ink. Then we have sort of books from paper merchants. So obviously the G.F. Smith Bible, which is essential. And the Gamunda Bible, which is also essential. More stuff everywhere. So yeah, so that's sort of my little studio. That's where I spend most of my time. And so thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your time. So, you know, if you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. It's PA Scribe on Instagram and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to Calligraphy Masters as well.